Hello and welcome to the Guardian Football Weekly. Good morning, Newcastle. Dr. Tottenham here. Another defeat for Spurs. And surely you've already heard a voice note from me about Thomas Frank.
Hi, Pod fans. Max here. Barry's here too. No, he's not. This is a voice note and a video note because Thomas Frank's just been sacked. Obviously just after we finished recording the podcast. But most of what we say still holds true. So bring back Harry Redknapp. Here's the Guardian Football Weekly.
He may not be the only problem, and they have so many injuries, but in a game between two not very good teams, Spurs were considerably worse. How real is the threat of relegation? Do they need some Spurs DNA, or would that, by definition, be Spursy? They owe Benjamin Sesko, who denied West Ham victory at the London Stadium. Nuno's men were good, but they got deeper and deeper as the game went on. And Man United probably deserved a point. Insert a comment about that guy's haircut. A brilliant comeback from Leeds at Stamford Bridge. Cole Palmer missing a glorious chance to win it in injury time, while Bournemouth's good run continues, winning at Everton. In the EFL, there's Southampton 3 down at Leicester at half-time and winning it in injury time. We revisit Barry and Cake, answer your questions, and that's today's Guardian Football Weekly. On the panel today, Jacob Steinberg, welcome.
Good morning.
Hello, Barry Glendenning.
Hello, Max.
And from the Racing Post, Mark Langdon, welcome.
Hi, Max.
Adam says, will Spurs get promoted to the Premier League next season? Lucas says, who will you support 2 years from now when Spurs and Cambridge face off in League One? Yes, a big win at Crawley last night for the U's, 2 for Sully Kaikai. We'll get to that. And I did enjoy the tweet from Alex THFC, who says, not cutting my hair until Tottenham Hotspur win 1 game in a row. So there we are. So the bottom of the table looks like this. Wolves and Burnley, we say, are done. West Ham have 24 from 26. Nottingham Forest, 26 from 25. Tottenham, 29 from 26. Leeds, 30 from 26. And Brighton, 31 from 25. Mark, no win in 9 in the league. 2 wins in 18. Surely that is it. We're waiting for your phone, aren't we? We're waiting for your phone in your Tottenham Hotspur WhatsApp groups to ping.
Yeah, it would be the most excited any Tottenham fans been for quite some time if the corner flag is sort of tweeted out at some stage today with a statement. But just the 5, I remember one Spurs fan saying he wouldn't cut his hair until they had 5 completed passes in a row. So we might still be waiting a while for that. Another really, really poor performance. The 2-1 really didn't do justice to Newcastle's dominance for most of the 90 minutes. It was a brief spell just after half-time when sort of Tottenham sort of threatened to do what they did against Manchester City, but for the most part they were completely outplayed by a Newcastle team that's also got injuries, and didn't have a number of players that you might suggest would be in their best 11. So I think the excuses they run out at about Christmas, but Thomas Frank is still hanging on. Like, as you said, Max, at the start, I don't think he's the only problem at the club. Clearly, he's not the only problem, but he's like the quickest one to solve now. And if Tottenham sort of don't feel like they're in a relegation battle, then they will sleepwalk into the Championship because they've got a job on. You don't see where the next sort of win is coming from, and unlikely to be next time out against Arsenal. So, it's really a sort of shocking state, really, for a club of Tottenham's resources.
I was going to say that, Mark. Is there is still a feeling that I have that Tottenham are just a bit too good to go down, or not too good, just too big. And I don't know, amongst the Spurs faithful, is there now a real feeling like actually we are, because other teams like Leeds show something, don't they? I don't know, maybe Forest aren't playing well, but West Ham are showing something. Tottenham are showing nothing.
I think there was last night in that sort of live standings when it briefly looked like West Ham would narrow the gap to 3 points, that I think it sort of maybe hit home for those that were oblivious to the fact that they were kind of just slipping down towards the kind of the bottom end of the table, but it would be okay. Like, they've got some what you would call sort of relatively easy, in inverted commas, home games still to come against Leeds, against Nottingham Forest. Like, Brighton are in a bad state, but at the same time, I mean, Tottenham have lost at home to West Ham. They've drawn at home to Wolves. You cannot trust them to win any game, I don't think, at the moment. And, they've got Champions League as well, which comes at a shocking time now, given the fact that they are in this relegation battle. And it could look even worse after the matches tonight because, Nottingham Forest will expect to beat Wolves.
Yeah. He's surely done, Barry, isn't he?
Well, he seems incredibly confident that he isn't going to be sacked, and I am aware that this will sound stupid if you have had to precede this podcast with a voice note saying he has been.
Thomas Frank's just been sacked.
He said after the game, the TNT Sports post-match interviewer kept pressing him and pressing him and pressing him, trying to get some sort of reaction out of him. He didn't get the reaction he wanted. He did get the stink eye, a very disapproving side eye from Thomas Frank, which is as near as I've ever seen to him losing his composure with an interviewer. But if you do sack him, who do you get in? Is it a vibes man like Harry Redknapp? Do you send up the Ryan Mason insignia into the night sky over the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium? I don't know. What I would say is, whatever about the fans taking a while to twig that they might be in a relegation battle, I wonder, do the players think, no, they're in a relegation battle? There's, Mark alludes there to easy games they have coming up in inverted commas. You don't have easy games when you're in a position like that, down among the dead men, and you certainly don't have easy games when your players convey the impression they think they're above this kind of struggle, and think that, we're not going to muddy our spats in a relegation battle because we're too good. And that, Leeds are fighting, West Ham are fighting, Spurs are showing no fight at all. And at the moment, it looks like they're just relying on someone. They're more focused on someone else getting fewer points than them than getting any points of their own.
I suppose, Jacob, one issue for Spurs is they don't, like Manchester United, have so many DNA candidates, don't they, to sort of get them out of this hole. And like Barry mentioned, Harry Redknapp, and I've thought about this before, and it seems so ridiculous that this season I would be saying, I really think Tottenham would have a better chance of beating Arsenal in 12 days if Harry Redknapp was in the dugout.
Is okay. I'm not sure that it's him, but I was looking earlier at the available coaches who are out there, and Barry's right. There's not really anyone obvious to come in. I mean, Amorim is available. People like Xavi, he's there. Edin Terzic, who obviously took Dortmund to the Champions League final, but there just aren't loads of people that you look at and you think, well, that's the person who's going to come in and change it. But you do get to that point of thinking it just anybody at this point. I don't think that you can go any further than this with Thomas Frank. I mean, looking at the highlights of the game, I was just struck by how basic and sort of childish and soft everything was. It looked like they had no real desire. They weren't playing as a team. The first goal, if you look at, obviously they get away with the VAR one, which was pretty lucky with Joe Willock.
The tiny, teeny top of VAR Joe Willock's head. Moments. Yeah, I know.
Maybe he should have got a haircut.
But then it's just straight away, your phone's pinging again. Oh, right, it's 1-0 to Newcastle anyway. And that first goal, the cross comes in so easily. No one's trying to stop the cross coming in. I think that was Jed Spence, who doesn't make any real effort. And then it's an easy header at the back post. And then even when the ball spills out into the 6-yard box, it just looks like Malik Tiori's wants it more than, I think it's Sai, just pushes him aside to get to the rebound, and it just looks like there's no heart in that team at all, and it doesn't look like they want to play for Thomas Frank anymore. It never really looked like they particularly did in the first place. So you get to that point of thinking it just has to be anybody. But I mean, they obviously brought in John Heitinger last month to be the number 2, and there was a feeling of, is he there potentially as a caretaker? Is he there to support Frank? The problem with John Heitinger is that he was run out of town in his last job at Ajax. I was at Chelsea Ajax in October, and Ajax lost, I think, 5-1 that night. They went down to 10 men very, very early. He took off one of their attacking players, and the Ajax fans started singing something in Dutch. And I asked a Dutch journalist what it was, and they were just singing, "Fuck off, John, fuck off, John." So, okay. Okay, maybe that's not the guy for Spurs, but maybe it will have to be.
Well, the Spurs fans won't have to, they're sort of in that mode, aren't they, Spurs fans? I mean, it's interesting, Mark, that Jacob says anybody, because that opens it up to quite a lot of people in the world. But like, who would you want?
Yeah, I mean that song. I mean, you could just replace John with Tom, and it would have the same kind of.
Scan, yeah.
I do want to just say I don't think these home games are easy, and it was inverted commas that. I think the people that are not, the people that are kind of not quite aware of the problems might think that they're easy. Like Harry Redknapp, I think like he's nearly 80. I think he's 79 next month, Max. Like it really. I mean, I know Harry. I like him, but. I think he's more interested in his horses these days, and he's
fair enough.
He might.
My
not
dad's
be
87.
He might not be able to do Cheltenham. That might be a problem. But who? I think Tottenham are now in a really bad situation in terms of what do they do, because I think a month ago they maybe could have just looked to have seen it out with maybe Heitinga or just kind of anyone, as Jacob was sort of alluding to. Now you almost feel like they probably need to think about like, well, what do they want sort of for next season? Like, and they're in a position where they probably want to wait. There's a lot of managers becoming available after the World Cup. Pochettino would be the obvious one, given the kind of the interview he gave recently and his love for the club, etc. But they probably can't wait that long anymore. So if you were looking at kind of now, could you tempt Glasner out of Palace?
Allardyce.
Oh no, I was going to say Glasner. No, I'm not. I'm trying to be serious here, Max. But, I mean,
but he get you 3 wins. No, but I'm trying to be facetious here, but Sam Allardyce would get you 3 wins in the last, which is probably what you need.
Yeah, I don't think he'd lift the club too much. Could you get Glasner out of Crystal Palace, and sort of maybe make a long term sort of deal with him? Amorim, I just don't think he's got the personality to lift the club. I mean, that was one of the things I felt he struggled with at Manchester United. So I would be stuck for finding a replacement, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't. I mean, like that's what Vinay Venkateshan presumably is paid a lot of money for as CEO, and Johan Lange as sporting director. But if you look at it, since Vinay left Arsenal, they've got better. Since Lang left Aston Villa, they've got better. And since Frank left Brentford, they've got better. So it's looking good.
Pretty bleak. From Newcastle's point of view, Barry, this is a huge win, isn't it? I mean, you could see what it meant to Eddie Howe with the fans afterwards. Jacob Ramsey, who had done nothing all season, scored the winner. And I don't know how much pressure it lifts on them, but it really does. 'Cause it's just kind of, it stops the rot.
Yeah, nobody seems quite sure how much, if any, pressure Eddie Howe is under. As far as I can tell, and I could be wrong, the match-going fans are happy enough with him, most of them, but some of the internet fans are more vocal in their disapproval of him. Newcastle have been famously bad away from home this season, so this was probably as Dr. Tottenham-y as Dr. Tottenham gets, because to all intents and purposes, this was a home away from home for Newcastle, because the atmosphere at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is so toxic that the fans turn on their own team very quickly. And if you didn't know much about football, watching that first half, you would assume Newcastle were the home side, because they completely dominated. They should have been much further ahead by the break, I think. This is only their 3rd away win this season in the league, I think. And it's a really good result for Eddie Howe, and you could see how thrilled he was at the end of the game.
Do we, Joe Willock offside, Jacob? It is so, I mean, I know it's offside. I don't know why I'm even bringing up VAR and it again, but you do watch it going, this is so silly, isn't it? Or are we happy?
No, you're completely right.
Offside?
No, you're completely right. I mean, I don't think it's not really in the spirit of the law, is it? And I mean, there was the one earlier this season as well, where it was the Fulham Liverpool game, the Florian Wirtz goal, which was given because apparently there was more benefit of doubt given to the attackers. That was a change, but he looked completely offside. And there was a massive long delay to work out whether it was or wasn't. And it's just taking so long to get to these decisions. And I don't. It feels like there are goals ruled out, where in the past I don't think anybody would have had a problem with them being given. I don't think that Spurs fans would have looked at that and gone, well, that's obviously offside. That's got to be ruled out. Similarly, like in the West Ham Man United game last night, the Casemiro goal. I mean, when you saw it and it was in the freeze frame, I thought it was probably just offside. But if that had stood, I don't think that you'd be going absolutely crazy at the linesman for not being able to spot it. So yeah, I'm with you on that. It feels too much. It feels like we've gone too far, but I don't think it's going away.
The most workable solution to these problems is to introduce an appeal system, give it like they have in cricket, give each manager / captain 2 appeals per game, and it's up to them when and or if to use them. Because would Tottenham have appealed against that goal?
I think you'd appeal every goal, wouldn't you? You'd just appeal every goal.
If you waste your appeals frivolously, like you see a lot of cricket batsmen doing in cricket, then they're gone. So
yeah,
you have to use them sparingly.
No, you're right. If you have 2 and you hopefully, most teams don't concede 2 every game, then you just chuck it. I don't know. I like the idea, but I reckon once you tried it in practice, everyone would just appeal.
Well, I'm sure
there was a great.
People would find some way of messing it up.
I was just going to say, can I just give a shout out though to that Newcastle front three and sort of the Willock and Ramsey, because like the near goal came from a deep run, and there was a lot of fluidity to their sort of front 5 that maybe hasn't been there all season. When Gordon played up front right at the start of the campaign, if you remember, he was playing really well, but wasn't taking any of the chances. And I think from a team point of view, they actually looked better without kind of somebody just standing up there almost sort of in that centre forward position. And Eddie Howe's been accused of not changing. This was a slight tinker, and I thought Elanga, particularly first half, might have been one of his kind of more dangerous 45 minutes of the season. Been a waste of money so far, but the offside goal came from that kind of deep run, and Willock and Ramsey were making those runs and sort of joining the front 3, and like there was a lot of attractiveness, I think, to the way that Newcastle attacked last night.
Yeah, but they were only playing Spurs, so
there is that.
It is interesting as well that they didn't start Vissa or Voltemada in their. That is kind of. I don't know what to make of that, but it's not exactly a ringing endorsement of either.
No, it isn't, but it worked and they won, and so it's a ringing endorsement of Eddie Howe, I suppose. Anyway, that'll do for part 1. Part 2, we'll go to the London Stadium. Welcome to part 2 of the Guardian Football Weekly. So West Ham won, Manchester United won. You are a West Ham fan, Jacob. I know you were at the Chelsea game, but what a blow. Like, presumably, I'm trying to think of the time. Yeah, the Chelsea game had finished. I don't know if you'd finished your writing or you're watching this at the same time. But once Xerxes missed that header, you must think, okay, we've got this now.
So I didn't see the Xerxes header until I saw the highlights after, but I had the game going on my phone while I was doing my rewrite for my match report at Chelsea. It got to about the 93rd minute, and then Liam Rosenior came in for his press conference. I thought, United don't really look like they're going to score here. They're not really doing a lot. So I had to turn off my phone, put it on the desk to record Rosenior, and then he spoke for 5 minutes, and then I came back and I saw the score. So, yeah.
I mean, and you sort of know, I guess as a West Ham fan, you're just like, that's what would happen, right? That's what you expect. I mean, it's a brilliant finish from Sesko, isn't it, Jacob?
It was an incredible finish. One way you're sort of almost reluctant to blame them for that going in. I suppose the one thing that you take away from it is that the cross comes in the first place, and that's been a problem all season. They've been letting in that kind of goal, particularly from that side. I mean, he gets in front of Disasi, but even at that point, he has so much to do. It is an amazing finish. I like him, Sesko. I think that obviously he's had a difficult start, but I think there's quite a lot of intelligence to, especially the way that he's able to finish, and it is an incredible goal. Probably the only way that could have gone in. So you struggle to be too harsh. I mean, I suppose that you just look at game management and whether they were able to run it into the corner, and also that they had a couple of chances on the counter attack to go 2-0 up. But it's just really gutting in that for them, in that I think it's now 20 points dropped from winning positions this season, and quite a lot of those have been very late on. And I think that's the second time in the last two or 3 weeks now where they've let in a very damaging goal in stoppage time, because it happened at Chelsea. But you go through to the Fulham game where it was a late winner from them in December. They've given away 2-0 lead against Bournemouth. Brighton was a stoppage time equaliser as well. So that's really costing them, because there are so many points that are just being thrown away when there've been some quite positive performances. I guess the difference between them and Spurs is that they are producing positive performances and they've got some fight, and that they look at the moment, unlike Spurs, that they've got some obvious match winners in Jarrod Bowen, who we all know is a fantastic player. And I think that he's struggled a little bit, I think, with the weight of the captaincy, but he's starting to now put in the performances that he's capable of. And Somerville as well, who going from a winger who was sort of flattering to deceive for much of his time into sort of like prime Messi for the last few weeks. The sale of Paqueta was obviously something that I think people thought would maybe hurt them, but I think in a way it's almost clarified things, because they're sort of playing in a much simpler way, and without somebody whose mood was going up and down, with the ability sometimes just to bring the place down or lift it once every 10 games. And it was often the case with him where it was a sort of quite pointless flick or trick here or there, which would go nowhere or lose the ball in a dangerous position. Without him there, it's almost like they've been able to go, okay, we're going to play in this very set, quite simple way, 4-4-2, and actually we're going to be very clear on what we're doing. And also Mateus Fernandes in midfield has almost made it irrelevant that Paqueta has gone, because although they weren't able to sign a replacement for Paqueta, he's just stepped up and he's been fantastic for them in the last few weeks. One of the rare good pieces of business they've done in the last couple of years, particularly in midfield. So there are a lot of bright things for them. It's worrying for them, I guess, that they're maybe doing this a little bit too late, and that the gap is still potentially tonight going to be 5 points. If as expected, you would expect Forest to beat Wolves, and it's just do they have too much to do? Is it all coming? Have they wasted too much going into this period? And they've got some hard games coming up now as well.
What do you reckon, Mark? Have they left it too late? What do you think?
No, I don't think they have left it too late. I think that there's a togetherness that I don't think you could have anticipated maybe even a month ago, really. The atmosphere sounded positive and really noisy, and kind of what you would want as a team in a relegation battle. Hasn't always been the case at the London Stadium, but definitely the fans were with the team, and obviously there's anger towards the ownership, but it's almost like the fans are just putting that to one side now and trying to sort of drag the team over the line. It will hurt this morning, but it's still a good point. They're playing Manchester United. If you're down in sort of that bottom three area, I think it still represents a good point. They've got Leeds on the final day, so in their heads, if you can get to within 3 of Leeds on the final day, you can maybe make that a cup final. The team looks a lot better with the fullbacks returning from AFCON as well. So, I think there are reasons to be positive. Obviously, it would have been, I think Nuno referred to it as a punch in the stomach. And United, I don't think had loads of chances really, and it wasn't like it was wave after wave of attack, so it will hurt, but I would mainly be on the positive there about West Ham. They look a very different team to kind of the one that looked like it was just going to sort of relegate themselves in disgrace almost a couple of months ago.
Yeah, it was that Wolves game, wasn't it, when we basically said they were completely done. What did you make from a United perspective, Barry? What did you make of this?
Just on Nuno saying it's a punch in the stomach, I think before the game he was probably expecting a kick in the balls. So I'd call it a good point, a good result, a good point.
Yeah, a good punch.
Ultimately.
Right,
from a United's perspective, I think it was probably their worst performance under Michael Carrick. I thought they would win. I thought they'd win comfortably, actually. And I think it's on the evidence of the game. It's a decent point for both sides. But obviously West Ham will be gutted that they didn't get all three, and they really did United really did Spurs a favour. So yeah, Michael Carrick was probably Tottenham's best performer on the night with his Spurs pedigree. But yeah, it wasn't great from United, and definitely their worst performance under Carrick, considering the results he has got.
Yeah, it's still no disaster, is it? 4 wins and a draw. And this does bring us to Haircut Man. I was interested. I mean, I don't know. Is his journey like a great social commentary of our time? Or is it just someone who hasn't had his hair cut? I can't work it out, because obviously the first time you hear about it, which is, I don't know, a few months ago, you're like, this is quite funny. Look at his massive hair. Well, this is funny. And then you go, is this a bit annoying? And then some really sensible people start getting so irate about this guy who's just said something a few months ago and has stuck to it. Do you start thinking, well, it's just sort of fun? I don't know. Where do we stand on? And some people will be like, I can't believe you're talking about Haircut Man when there's a football match.
I am
happening.
one of them.
I think all I would say, Max, is that not many teams win 5 matches in a row. It was a very weird sort of point to which to go down. I mean, you have to be a very good team to win 5 matches in a row. And Manchester United have not been a particularly consistent or very good team for a long time now. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a while, I would say, before they do win 5 in a row. I'd be surprised if it was this season.
I don't know. I just sort of think, Jacob, in a social media world, he's come up with that idea. It's worked. I think there's a lot of jealousy, because he was like doing an advert with PK and a pair of scissors the other day. It's like, it is just ridiculous, but it feels harmless to me.
Yeah, sort of Wayne Rooney was having a pop at him. He said that once they win 5 in a row, he'll just, he's probably hoping that they don't, because he'll just become irrelevant. Yeah, he's wound everybody up. But are you jealous? You mentioned
I'm not jealous. I mean, I suppose that's interesting. I mean, if I've spent 20 odd years trying to carve a career in this, and I wouldn't know. Has he made more money than I have now in just like 6 months because he hasn't got his hair cut? I mean, I don't know if I'm jealous of that. I think I'm fine with it. I think, you try something, it works, make hay. Because once his hair is cut, I don't know what he did before. I don't know maybe he's got other strings to his bow.
Is there a film in this, a book for him, or?
He seems like very much like a one-trick pony to me, but maybe I'm doing him a massive disservice.
I think you're on thin ice, Max, accusing anyone of being a one-trick pony.
I don't know, but he seems to. I don't know. It seems fine to me. It's like fair play to the guy, but
I mean, people have become famous in the social media world for less and for more harmful sort of behaviours, I would say.
I think you're right. Anyway, Barry, would you like me to move on or go deeper?
I'm quite indifferent. Fair play to him. If he's making a few quid out of not getting his hair cut, great.
Okay, let's go to Stamford Bridge then. Chelsea 2, Leeds 2. Jacob, you were there. Feels like Chelsea should have won this football match to me.
Yeah, absolutely. It was bizarre, because it was, as Rossignol said, 6 minutes of utter madness from Chelsea. They were the frustrating thing is that they were pretty good for an hour. I didn't think they were sensational, but they had the game under control against a Leeds side who didn't have Calvert-Lewin, Stack, Struijk, some players coming back from injury as well, and Farke had dropped Noah Okafor after his goal against Forest. He said afterwards that he's a player who needs a bit of time to get back up to physical speed after putting in a big effort. So he also wasn't sure if he would be able to deal with it from a defensive side against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. So Leeds looked quite blunt for certainly at the start when you looked at their team, because there were 6 defenders in there and you weren't really sure how they were going to score. And Chelsea just gradually worked it out. They the setup in possession was pretty good. It got them through this very difficult Leeds set up, and it was sort of around the 20-minute mark, you suddenly realised that Palmer was getting into loads of space through the middle. It happened once and they almost scored, and then it happened again and they did score. That link up with João Pedro is really important for them. It was something at the Club World Cup that there was an instant connection between the two of them, and this season obviously it's not been something that they've been able to use because of Palmer's injury problems. But that last night was his, for the Pedro goal, was his first assist in the league this season. He's got 3 overall in all competitions, and they've all been for João Pedro. And the other side of that is that in the last 2 games, João Pedro has won 3 penalties for Cole Palmer. 2 of them for defenders just putting
oh my God.
2 hands in his back. It was absolutely bizarre.
It's insane.
It was like, what is it about this player that makes you think you can do that to him and get away with it? So last night it was Jacob. It was utterly bizarre. I have no idea what he was trying to do, because Pedro was going away from goal, nowhere near not a dangerous position at all, and he just goes bam, and it was a penalty. And at that point you just thought, yep, okay, it's going to be 2 or 3-0 to Chelsea, comfortably up into 4th place, and then just out of nowhere they get rattled by Jadon Bogle, and it's for 6 minutes and they just completely imploded. And okay, it goes to 2-1 and there's a bit of hope for Leeds, but you should still be able to manage that situation. And that probably comes back to whether they have enough leadership, the experience, the game mentality in this team, because obviously they are so young. And in those moments, people will look at it and think, do they have the players to guide a Josh Acheampong who's 19 and makes the mistake for the second goal through those moments? And on the evidence of what we've seen so far, probably not. I mean, Rosenior says he's still waiting for that perfect 90 minutes, and it's been really frustrating to watch them, because they go 3-0 up against Palace, they concede a stupid goal out of nowhere. They're 3-0 up against Wolves on the weekend at half time, and that should not be a game that finishes 3-1, and they lack the consistency through games to see that through. He was fuming afterwards, Rosenior, and made it pretty clear that he doesn't expect to see it happen again. I think there's every chance that it will, because it's what we've seen from them this season. Mention West Ham throwing winning positions away. Chelsea have thrown 17 points away this season, and 15 of those have been at home. So there's a real issue there for them to fix.
Yeah, I mean, the equaliser from Leeds was of such phenomenally low quality. I absolutely loved it. Just people falling over, the ball just rolling to someone.
It was a weird moment in the stadium, because it sort of all happened in slow motion, and Okafor almost scores in a way that I think he thought it was going to be ruled out. Had there been a foul at some point in the build-up, and obviously Bogle handballs it in the build-up as well, but I don't think they can go back for that, because he wasn't the one who scored. I think I'm right in saying that. I'm sure I'll have people shouting at me if not, but he just sort of rolls it in, and the Leeds fans weren't celebrating in a way that you would expect for a team that have come back from 2-0 down at Stamford Bridge. It was like they were expecting it to be pulled back. Was it offside? Was there a foul? Did Sanchez have the 2 hands? And yeah, it was just an absolute mess.
What did you make of the Cole Palmer miss in injury time, Barry? I mean, because it is moving very fast. Am I being too generous to him?
I think so. The ball squared across the face of goal. He's 2 yards out.
He's kind of in the goal, yeah.
I'll charitably say it took a bobble, but even so, to shin it over the bar from that distance is a considerably more difficult feat than just burying it in the back of the net. The back of the net is where Palmer ended up, looking quite bemused at an extraordinary miss, particularly for anyone, but a player of his quality. Yeah, just an extraordinary miss, but kind of indicative of Chelsea's evening, really. They should have won that game so comfortably.
It does mean, Mark, that the sort of race for the from sort of 3rd to 6th is quite hard to call, right? You know, Villa on 47, having a bit of a wobble, Man United 45, Chelsea 44. I mean, Liverpool, the big beneficiaries last night, because they both dropped points, and Everton actually could have gone above them if they'd won and they didn't. But how do you see that race panning out? Very hard to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really tough one to call. I don't want to sit on the fence too much. I feel like Chelsea will get in there because like a lot of their play I really enjoy, and I think that sort of just getting rid of those defensive mishaps is kind of easier to do than to suddenly start, creating chances and scoring goals. As an example, I'm still not entirely convinced by Manchester United and sort of what those foundations are built on. There was the kind of Carrick's not Amorim, so that's great, but they've needed an injury time goal to beat Fulham and an injury time goal to equalise against West Ham. So I would say I would expect Chelsea to get in. I think Villa probably done enough, so it could come down to Liverpool against Manchester United. Maybe edge towards Liverpool but not with any great deal of confidence.
Rossini and Maresca before him, they keep chopping and changing back four midfield, and I guess it's something to do with the minutes being managed by the medical team, and it might not necessarily be the head coach's choice, but that would surely help cut out those kind of silly mistakes that led to that equaliser last night.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're unfortunate in one respect, in that their best defender at the club, Colwill, is out for the season. He definitely came of age at the Club World Cup, brilliant against PSG in the final, and he's not there. And then probably the next one after that is Wesley Fofana, and obviously he has struggled over the last few years to stay fit. He's had a series of really bad injuries, and he's now, this season he's been free of that, but they still have to manage him, and he can't play 3 games a week. So he last night he was on the bench, came on late on, and it's just those players behind those ones who aren't that convincing. Badiashile played against West Ham and was pretty poor. Achimpong was fine until the moment when he wasn't last night, and Hato's young. They've brought back Mamadou Sarr from Strasbourg, who Rossini absolutely loves, but he's another young player who has no experience of the Premier League. So it is definitely an issue for them. And when they have Chalobah and Fofana together, they're pretty good, but they just don't have that all the time. And again, Reece James as well. He's been out for the last few weeks, but he's in that category of players who they see as not being able to do 3 games or 3 full 90 minutes a week. And as well, that's partly squad planning. That's also coming back to that whole issue they've got around not having had a proper pre-season.
Well, and what's the vibe being on Rossini? What's your take being on Rossini so far? Because he's won a lot of games. It feels like he's had a bit of fortune in some of those games, or they've not been perfect. But it's been a pretty good start.
It has. I think it's qualified in that he's had a fairly kind start from the fixtures. They go to Palace, who were in a real state at that point, with the whole Glasner thing going on and Gahey going around that time, and they did well against them. They were lucky to beat West Ham. They were lucky to beat Brentford. Probably that they should have at least conceded in that game. And they've had other games where the Napoli game, they were pretty poor in the first half, and then he fixes it. So he's had moments where he's messed up the starting lineup, and then he's fixed it after half time. There've been moments where they've been probably lucky not to concede, and perhaps last night it's just that luck sort of slightly running out in a game where they should win, and they've played well. So positive signs, but they've probably got wins in games that you would expect them to, and it's going to get harder now because they've got Arsenal away coming up soon, Villa away, and the Champions League will start up again. So the squad will be tested more. But from the record of it, you can't really argue. I mean, you've got to remember that he came in at a point with the club in seeming disarray after the way that Maresca left, and the fans absolutely going for the owners at that time, going for Bedad Eghbali and Clearlake Capital virtually every game at that point. And that's slightly over the last few weeks calmed down because I think he's got the team going and the players seem to be responding to him, but it's just they're still looking for that consistency, and it's not easy for him because he's come in at a point where they're playing every 3 days most of the time, and he's not had a lot of time with a new team on the training ground to get his ideas across. I do find the reaction to him, the intensity of the reaction to him quite interesting. Maybe it's a social media thing, and maybe it's a consequence of everybody being too online. But I do find the mockery that's come his way quite just interesting, and in some cases hard to understand. He seems to have rubbed a lot of people up the wrong way, and I know that he said some things that have been quite amusing. As you know, the clip that did the rounds of the manage aging men from when he was at Strasbourg was meme worthy, certainly. But I don't know. I find it, some of it has been quite relentless and intense at times, especially for a young English manager who's started with 7 wins from 10, where you'd think maybe people would be a bit more supportive of that. Maybe it's a consequence of being at Chelsea and people maybe being a bit down on them as well, and the association, people would quite like to tear him down. I don't know, but it's been interesting to watch, put it that way.
Yeah. Just on Leeds, Mark, they've got a tricky-ish run of fixtures now. They go to Villa, they're home to Man City, home to Sunderland, Palace away, Brentford at home. I guess those 3 home games are all under the lights. The earliest one of those kicks off at 5:30, and they win all their games under the lights. And like for them, and I think it's been said a lot, Elland Road is absolutely key to their survival.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they'll be the only ones disappointed that spring is coming. We won't be able to sort of play under the lights at 3 o'clock or even 12:45. I've been to Leeds when it's been dark at lunchtime. Like they've got, if you go even further into their fixture list, they've got Burnley and Wolves at home to come as well. So, like, I think Elland Road probably keeps them up, and they didn't play well at all at Chelsea, but it's a big point for them. They've also gone to Liverpool and got a point, so like they are. I think they'll be fine. Yeah, I think that home form will keep them up.
All right, that'll do for part 2. Part 3, we'll do the Everton Bournemouth game. Welcome to part 3 of the Guardian Football Weekly. So Everton 1, Bournemouth 2. What did you make of it, Baz?
Everton continue to bewilder me. They seem to be much higher in the table than their results and their performances suggest they should be. Hill Dickinson has not been good for them of late. I think they haven't won any of their past 5 home games in the league. They got knocked out of the cup by Sunderland. And yet they're flying reasonably high, far higher than I thought they would, and are thereabouts in terms of qualifying for Europe. So I don't know what Everton fans make of all this. I presume they're probably happy enough, but they could be doing even better, and this game sort of was indicative of bad Everton, I suppose. They took the lead and then proceeded to throw it away and came away with nothing. And yeah, had a player sent off as well. I think David Moyes was, I get the impression, very angry after the game. I think I read in the match report his post-match presser was monosyllabic and lasted less than 3 minutes. And a grumpy David Moyes is probably not one you want to spend much time in the company of. So that's understandable. But yeah, the first goal was sloppy marking. Mikalenko, I think it was, let Rayan steal in behind him and power home a header from an excellent true far cross. And the second goal was just a shambolic defensive effort from Everton, just a free kick from deep that Pickford and the defenders completely failed to deal with any sort of authority. James Hill nods the ball across the face of goal, and Adley sort of puts a diving header into the empty net. So not a good performance from Everton, and they're not doing well at home. They haven't been for the last 2 months and 2 and a bit months.
Yeah, I mean, both these sides, Mark, have exactly the same number. They're on 37 points. Their goal difference is 1 different. But it's weird how you judge seasons. I guess because Bournemouth went on this long winless run, but have been on really good form recently. You presume that they'd be sort of miles ahead of Everton, but they're not. And both these sides will be fine and will probably hang around where they are, right?
Yeah, and I think particularly for Bournemouth, that's a good season. Given what they lost in the summer and then Semenyo as well in January, if they're not in that relegation chatter, then I think that Bournemouth should always be, happy with, with the season as it's panning out. I watched the Moyes interview with the BBC, and it's painful. Moyes refuses to accept that he's angry, but then gives it away completely with sort of 2-word answers and sort of steam coming out of his ears. It was really difficult.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is, Mark, if you are angry and someone says, I can see you're angry, you can't say I'm not angry without sounding angry, can you? Like, it's like a catch-22. He's totally screwed. Even if he was angry. I suppose he's been really sort of bubbly for the last couple of weeks. He's allowed an off night, isn't he, David?
He is, yeah. I mean, I think he'll be frustrated because for 60 minutes, once they got the goal, Everton probably should have gone on and won the game. Barry missed one good opportunity. I don't think Bournemouth had done much in that first hour, and then to concede 2 goals and have O'Brien sent off in 9 minutes, it's a very wasteful, I would say, from Everton. But as far as Bournemouth go, they've got some of their players back now. They did have a mad injury crisis at one stage that I think was really handicapping what Iraola was able to do. He's a very good manager. I'm not sure if he'll stay at Bournemouth or go elsewhere in the summer, but he's definitely one of the best, I think, in the Premier League for what he gets out of his team.
Would you take him at Spurs, Mark?
I'd absolutely love him. I'd love him at Tottenham. I don't know about you, Max. He'd be my number one pick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm mainly convinced that whoever goes there will be ruined by the,
I mean,
whatever is wrong.
Might need Scott Parker, Max, because he's good in the Championship. So
that is true. That is true. I don't know. Everyone says they need a clear out, but I don't really know what that means. You got to just get rid of the board and all the players and everything. You can't do that. Anyway, tonight we don't need to worry about Tottenham. Forest, Wolves, Man City, Fulham, Sunderland, Liverpool, Villa, Brighton, Palace, Burnley. Clearly, Jacob, it's a very obvious question, but absolute must win for Man City in the title race. Fulham are decent, but this should be, I wouldn't say straightforward for City, but they should win.
Yeah, I'm not sure it'll be straightforward. Fulham have the capability, I think, to go anywhere and at least put up a good show of themselves and score. I feel like I'm pretty sure that they've had moments at Manchester City where they've taken the lead and given them a problem before eventually Haaland takes over. Haaland's got a great record against Fulham, and that was a crazy game earlier this season at Craven Cottage, the 5-4, where Haaland amazing. Ripped them apart, and Foden did as well. Do you remember Phil Foden? And they were they 3-0 up, I think, and then at half time and 3-1, and then Fulham almost come back to draw 5-5. So maybe it will be like that again. Maybe it'll be like that again tonight, but I don't think City can really let that develop that way, because they really do need, despite the comeback on Sunday, I think they really do need to show that they can start to keep some clean sheets. The defence has been really unconvincing over the last month or two.
Barry, what about Sunderland, Liverpool? A very good home record. It will be a test.
No shit, yeah, of course it will.
I was just asking a generic question about the game.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting me right. Here we are, one trick pony. Max strikes again. It's all right. Do you know what? I'll just switch off and just grow my hair and see how that goes.
I am more confident Sunderland will get something at Anfield than I was in them getting anything at the Emirates at the weekend. Put it that way. And yeah, I think they might come away with something.
Sorry,
other than
they're
hiding.
They're at home. No, I was going to say no shit, in that you're more likely to be a team that are fifth or whatever.
Oh, so Sunderland
are
at home, of course they are. Yeah.
Sunderland are at home, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
then I'm massively confident that Sunderland will win 5-0.
Okay, thanks.
I had it in my head that was at Anfield for some reason. Sorry.
They drew at Anfield.
So yeah. Well, we're always learning, Barry, and you've learned something new, so that's a good use of a podcast, isn't it? Anything else you're looking forward to tonight, Mark?
Well, Villa against Brighton, ramifications both ends of the table. But Brighton, another one, a bit like how Barry says he doesn't know how sort of Everton sort of land where they do in the Premier League. I think it was only after the Palace game I sort of realised where Brighton were in the table, and like that performance against Palace was, I thought, absolutely shocking from Brighton. Like. Devoid of everything really that you've come to associate with the club in recent years. So I think that's a really big game for them. And we spoke about Villa and kind of the buffer that they've got. Obviously, if they were to lose to Brighton or not beat them, it potentially sort of really does bring Liverpool back into it if they do win at Sunderland. So I think that's a really big game. And then you've got the Forest one where you feel like that's a must for them against Wolves.
Yeah. Oh, and on Brighton, De Zerbi is available, isn't he? He's left
Marseille last night.
I just wonder how many Brighton fans be like, "Ooh, should we?" I'm not sure him and Tony Bloom ended in the best way, if I remember correctly. But still, they're hankering after a bit of that football, I think. In the EFL, then Middlesbrough beat Sheffield United 2-1 on Monday, so overtook Coventry at the top of the Championship. Coventry had a 10-point lead in December, and they're only 5 points ahead of Ipswich, who are in third. Game of the night last night was at the King Power. Leicester 3-0 up at half-time, and they lost 4-3 to Southampton. Southampton scoring in injury time. The winner, Shea Charles. It's such a great finish. Curls it into the corner. But yeah, things not all going well at Leicester after that points deduction as well. Norwich won 3-0 at Oxford, and Birmingham West Brom drew 0-0. And as I began the podcast, a great win for the mighty U's. 3-0 at Crawley, back on the horse, back into the automatic promotion positions for my big team who win things. Tombo says, I feel that Barry's shocking announcement that he doesn't like cake of any kind was kind of skipped over. No cake of any kind on top of all theatre is shit. Does anyone else on the panel reject whole spheres of human enjoyment? This was in reference to Sam Delling's coffee cake analogy. Barry, do you have any? Do you want to come back on this? Theatre, cake, anything else?
I'm not as against cake as I am the theatre. Insofar as I would
imagine
avoid
a piece of cake at the theatre. Imagine what living
I would
hell
avoid
that would be.
the theatre at any cost. Whereas I will generally try a bit of cake if I'm at someone's birthday or wedding or whatever. And I am quite partial to a bit of carrot cake. But if I never had cake again, it wouldn't cost me a thought. It would be fine.
Fine. It's easier to try a slice of cake, isn't it, than to try a little bit of theatre, isn't it? You can't pop in, to the young Vic for 5 minutes and just see how it goes.
Well, you can.
Well, I suppose you could. Quite expensive.
Yeah.
Anyway, you do you. Like, we're all different.